Okay, I'm on and you guys can see me. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lynn, the cosplayer. Today we are deep diving into another controversial subject. It is almost Thanksgiving, so let's just call this your Thanksgiving present this year to hear more opinions from me. And to give you guys a little bit of a backstory, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, I have been doing cosplay as a hobby cosplayer for the past 15 going on 16 years. I live in Seattle, Washington, which is home of many trees, lots of caffeine and coffee stands, tons of beautiful mountains, Twilight if you're into that, and also the home of many really awesome conventions such as SakuraCon and Emerald City Comic Con. So this video is one I have wanted so much to talk about for a very long time. However, I have been in an internal struggle with if I am the appropriate person or the right person to even talk about this. It's kind of funny, but I do think there are some topics that are best discussed by the people who are actually actively involved in them at the moment. And then there are other topics which are best discussed by people who are observers of these going-ons. And that's what the category that I fall into. So, as a brief backstory, I have done one competition. It was virtual and it was during COVID, so everything was just wonky and weird and different. I didn't have a great experience doing it. Like, everything leading up to it was actually really fun, and I got to do video editing, I got to do voiceover, I got to submit a bunch of stuff online, which I've never done before. It pushed me creatively, and it also made me kind of come out of my cosplay shell a little bit more than normal. If you're interested about that, I put a video up before. You guys can go watch it. I also put my workbook up that I submitted to judges, so you can see all that through a beginner's eyes. But beyond that, I have not done personally any other competitions besides informal stuff like school contests or mini outside event, but actually being at a cosplay convention. I am on the observer side. I go to a lot of contests because I absolutely love to see people walk the stage, do their thing, act out being a character or a scene or doing cool moves, doing the poses, all of that. Absolutely love it. And when I can't go to a convention or a convention's way far away from me, I just watch the replay on YouTube and I'm constantly observing contests. I've also watched a lot of people's vlogs and videography of cosplay contests to see what's going on behind the scenes. I love all of that stuff. And I've really internally debated if I want to do an in-person cosplay contest. The thing is, there are many, many issues I have. And so that's why today we're going to talk about all the problems that I have personally with cosplay contests. Now, guys, I know this is probably a very touchy subject for people because I know quite a few cosplayers that the only reason they go to conventions is to compete. They are not there to just wander around, have fun, and go to events. They are there for a purpose, and they're hoping to place or win. Now, that is a mindset that I am truly envious of. I think it's really cool to be that much into contests and be trying as hard as you can because it is so much time, energy, and effort to do a contest as a contestant. I'll talk about that later. But for myself, again, I haven't done many contests. And so I really I was ooh, I want to talk about this, but I don't want people to think, well, she hasn't done them, so she doesn't really know what's going on. I hope you guys listen through this entire video because I am going to bring up some really big topics that I really do think we need to create dialogue about and ask ourselves, are these things appropriate? Can we change them? And why are these things the way they are? Who put them into place? Again, you have to realize many cosplay conventions are actually put on by average everyday people and volunteers. And sometimes they themselves don't even realize something's an issue until the bigger group brings it up and we make noise about it and we're like, hey, we don't like this, change this, change this. And then they're like, oh, we didn't realize they don't like it. Okay, yeah, let's get someone on that. So let's do that, guys. Let's talk today about all the issues I have with cosplay contests. Now, as always, I have put a lot of notes down into a beautifully crafted Word document. So I may be looking over here. If you guys are watching this, I'm going to probably look up at my notes. And this is the only way I can get my thoughts organized and succinct. I hope you guys appreciate that. First off, let's talk about other hobbies versus the hobby of cosplay. And there is a specific thing that makes doing cosplay a lot more confusing and chaotic than other hobbies. And that is there are no quantifiable markers or achievements because there are no industry standards when it comes to cosplay. Cosplay was created by the fans for the fans. There is no professional level of cosplay because once you reach that, you're probably going to be working as an actual costume creator for a stage company or in Hollywood. And that is like a totally different sphere. Most cosplayers that do cosplay don't have that in their mind that that's where they want to get one day. They're doing cosplay as like a creative outlet, and you can do creative outlets in so many different ways. So what makes contests really, really difficult to be able to judge is the fact that there really is no right or wrong way to do anything. So when you have enough people up on a stage showing off costumes and you have judges looking over those costumes, how can you specifically say that a contestant has done something incorrect versus another contestant who has done it what you would consider correct? There are so many ways to do everything. And a lot of the times I am talking about the construction of the costume itself and also finishing it finishing it. I'm going to say finishing it in quotations because I do think that some things are total overkill for doing just a normal cosplay costume. There are ways to finish it so that it will last and it will stay put together. And then there's finishing things in the way that a fashion designer or someone who creates professional clothing would finish it. But that's market ready clothing, not cosplay. Because there are so many skills also within the sphere of what we call cosplay. We have foam work, we have casting in resin and plastics, we have paper mache, we have fabric, and then within fabric we have sewing, embroidery, beadwork, making hoop skirts, making historically accurate clothing. There is so much. So when you say the word cosplay, there are so many different areas you could be talking about. You kind of have to get specific. Now, within cosplay contests, they do try to do a good job of doing different levels of, beginner, intermediate, medium, expert, professional, that sort of thing. But the issue that I have seen over and over and over is the problem of having a beginners category, but the beginners are doing all different types of costumes. And it seems really weird to compare someone's first made foam armor with someone's first made sewn costume because those are two different skill sets. It is not saying that one person's was harder to do than the others. It's just different skills. And so it really feels like comparing apples to oranges. The problem with this is that if you join a competition where everyone is doing very similar skilled costumes, if everyone is doing mostly sewed materials or mostly foam made materials and you are within that little subgroup, the competition is going to seem a little bit more fair to you. But if you are the one person who joined a competition and your outfit is fully sewed and it is perfect, beautiful seams, totally finished, it's very, very strong, it fits on you perfectly, being put up against people in a bunch of very articulated foam costumes, it is not going to be a very fair competition. It really sucks. But again, apples to oranges. We don't have industry standards that say this is beginner, this is medium, this is professional. So the judges themselves have to determine what they consider to be that. Again, we're going to come back around to judges later. So let's put a little bookmark in that and move on. The second thing that I have a major issue with, and this really, really bugs me, so much. Judges chosen to be a part of cosplay competitions more and more are influencers and well-known people in the industry versus people who are professionals in the fields that actually could be very, very useful to cosplayers. So, first off, if a judge is an influencer, is that a conflict of interest? Let's think about it this way. If the person who is judging your contest also does contests with their free time, this could be a lot of problems coming up. Not only do they typically have a web, like a networking of knowing other cosplayers, so there is a chance that maybe people they are friends with or already kind of know are associated with in the cosplay sphere might be in that costume contest that they themselves are going to now be judging. Again, bias, we will be talking about that. But we also have it where maybe those judges who are judging the cosplay competitions tend to favor certain types of costumes over others. And it's very clear when you go on their social medias and you're scrolling through their Instagram, oh, this person is a foam worker. They use foam in everything and they're really, really good at it. They are going to be very much more interested in the contestants that have foam versus the contestants that are making ball gowns. Why? Because it's what they know, it's what they do, and it's what they're already looking at. So again, if something is already like in your skill set and it's something you do all the time, when you're actually faced with having to look at other people's, there is going to be issues of that's all you can really compare it to is what you already do. Again, we're going to circle back around. But the biggest question I want to ask is why are we not hiring more people to be judges who are actual real life fashion designers, who are actual real life seamstresses, maybe people who are historical reenactors and they are very well versed in like different centuries worth of clothing? There are a lot of industries out there. I mean, we have woodworking, we have welders, we have all this stuff. They don't need to know who the characters are walking on the stage. Is it nice? Yes. But again, bias comes kind of into that. What characters do you know? What are you familiar with? Who are your favorites? Again, I don't want to talk too much about it yet. We are going to talk about it in the next section. But when you have a professional person coming in, like a fashion designer, they are going to look at more than just how does the costume look, but also how inventive was this person at putting it together? What did they do to make things connect that were really hard to connect? Or how did they make parts in their costume look like they're floating when they didn't? There's a little bit of like a mindset that you have to get into doing cosplay, which is typically bringing an animated character to life. And with that, you have to make assumptions and you have to really open up that super creative part of your brain to think, okay, I'm seeing this animation, I know it's not real, but if it was real, what would that look like? What would the materials be? What is that shiny spot? How does that look? And bringing that part to life is something that like a lot of fashion designers, like that's what their whole job, that's what they do. Seamstresses also could be looking for, you know, did they use a normal pattern or did they craft the pattern themselves? And how inventive was the pattern crafting? Are the seams put together correctly? Did they use French seams, which are very, very difficult? Like all this stuff. When you have judges who are just cosplay influencers, we have just so many issues with the conflict of interest, like who's in their web, who do they know, why did they get picked to be judged, what are their bias? But we also have the fact that they are not professionals in these fields. Like they just themselves, like the contestants, are kind of making things up on the spot. And they're grabbing material and learning stuff from other cosplayers. And so using that knowledge to judge others just seems odd. It's like kind of like having your peers judge you versus like your professor. You would want your professor to be judging you because they've done this forever. This is their, you know, their profession. Not your peers, because your peers are going to judge you based on what they think it should be or their experience doing it themselves. Food for thought there. Okay, finally we are going to get on to the third section, which is the one I keep touching base on, and the biggest one, the biggest issue I have, bias. Now, bias is totally unpreventable, and every single person in the world has bias. there is actually a really great free online quiz that you can take by Harvard, which will show you your own internal bias in many, many categories. And it's very interesting to see. I think it's very helpful if you want to be a more well-rounded, self-aware person. It is good to know where your own bias lies and kind of like check yourself before you wreck yourself. Now, in cosplay contests, we are having pretty bad issues with, like I kind of touched base, choosing judges who are influencers versus pros. And with those judges, they are always going to have characters that they favor over other characters. So the problem is, if you have someone walking on a stage who is cosplaying one of the most highly relevant characters of the year, like let's say an anime just ended and the ending was like so famous, it's been watched like millions of times now, everyone's obsessed with it, chances are someone is going to, dress up and wear that in a cosplay costume competition. That's just how it is. But the judges are probably going to be well versed in what's popular and what's trending right now. And it's kind of a way to like get more attention to yourself, especially if the costume or like the character is newer. Not many people have cosplayed it yet. If you get your foot in the door as doing like one of the first versions that everyone is seeing, there's less to compare it to. So also that could mean like a higher score for yourself. Not only that, but judges are always going to have their characters that they are like absolutely adoring and in love with. I mean, if you look through a judge's Instagram or Facebook or website, you're probably going to see like trends that they themselves have about what they typically make and wear. So it could be anything from like very specific types of video games. It could be like Sailor Moon based projects, like maybe they're a huge Moonie and they love that. The problem is, if you know who's going to be judging a competition, you can also kind of base your costume off of their likes and what they're into. If you find out that your judge is really big into Sailor Moon, is it playing the system if you decide to enter in a Sailor Moon outfit? I don't know. That's kind of bias for them, isn't it? Also, if you cosplay a character that everyone knows, you're cosplaying like Zelda or Link or a Kingdom Hearts character, like something that everyone has seen, you're going to get a little bit more visibility and you're probably going to have a lot more background to work off of, like comparing how other people made costumes, tutorials, things like that to really make it like as good as it can possibly be. Now, like I said, some people choose to play the system by only choosing the most highly relevant characters to compete in. So, League of Legends releases a new skin or a new music video, and you're probably going to see a handful of people scattered across the US in cosplay competitions in those outfits. Because the thing is, people are interested in what's new and what's relevant. If it's trendy, it's cool. Everyone's going to watch it. Everyone's going to know what it is. The judges are going to know what it is. And people are going to be like, oh my God, it's that character that just came out. How cool. That's just the way things go. It's called hype. So is that bias if a judge is judging the competition and they know that character because the character's trending? The thing is, if you choose to dress up as a character that you absolutely love and it's less well known, how heartbreaking would it be to walk on the stage and have none of the judges know who you are? Again, you have to usually submit a workbook, and it is good to say like a little bit of a background of who the character is in case the judges don't know. But because of bias, there is a very large chance the judges are just going to judge you at a lower score because they don't know what the source material really is. Like, you might have screenshots, you might have some sketches of like what the costume is supposed to look like, but they haven't watched the anime, they're not well versed in the character in the video game. Again, it's probably just going to equal a lower score. It's not exactly a fair system. And kind of like I said before, judges are always going to score you based on how they themselves create those specific items. So if anyone has watched Heroes of Cosplay, you've probably heard Yaya Han talk a million times about how when she judges the competition, she flips every single seam to see if the seam is finished on the inside and how it was put together and if it's professional, like the way that an actual seamstress would do it. And if people don't, she gives them a low score. Now, the reason why she's scoring them based that way is because that's how she does all of her costumes. Is it the correct way? Is it the appropriate way? Well, that's not really for anyone to say because it's cosplay. This is not professional fashion wear. You're not wearing this during New York Fashion Week or Paris Fashion Week. Like, this is an informal costume of a character who is not real that you're bringing to life. So, if you choose to make your foam pauldron a very interesting way, and someone comes in who's a judge and they are really big into foam work, and they look at it and they go, oh, I would never make mine that way. Unfortunately, whether it's right or not, they're probably going to score you lower. And that is because of their own internal bias of what they think is right or wrong. So the last question that I think is always important to ask yourself when it comes to any hobby is this good for your mental health? And this is why I have stopped myself every time I've really thought about if I want to compete. I'm like, ooh, okay, wait. I forgot to ask myself the last question. And the answer every time has been no. Is it good for your mental health to compete in a cosplay competition? Once you go from hobbyist to competitor and you join a competition, you are also changing your mindset about why you are doing cosplay and the outcome that you want out of this situation. And I think what many people don't realize is that once your mindset shifts, you can't change back. Because once you go through that first judging and you have people actually looking up close at your costume and touching it and asking questions, the comments that they make and the scores they give you will sit with you for a very, very long time. Now, what I have seen is many people be really excited to cosplay. They have incredible pictures, they get tons of attention at conventions, and they've just had such a good experience. They're like, well, the next level up is to compete, and that's what I want to do. And they go into a competition bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, excited, and they come out very defeated because many things were pointed out to them that they themselves never thought were a problem. Well, I can guarantee you the next time they make a cosplay costume, that little voice in the back of their head is going to be saying, hey, did you finish all the seams the correct way? Hey, did you make the pauldron this way because that's the right way? Hey, did you use these type of magnets because only these ones are acceptable in a cosplay competition? It doesn't matter if they're competing again. It's just the fact that judges who are higher up have told them that's what they expect out of them. I think one of the most enlightening things about seeing people compete, and the thing that I have come to terms with, is that if you want to be in a cosplay competition, you need to have really tough skin, and you need to be adaptable, and you need to be able to let comments roll off of you and not have it affect you. And that is so, so hard because you are always going to get reactions and comments from other people that you don't want. You are in a competition together with lots of other people, and I can guarantee you many of those people are not very happy, and they are very competitive, and they're not going to act super nice to you. Some competitions, everyone acts really, really nice because they're excited, but watch the way that people react after they don't place, or after they get a comment about their costume they weren't expecting from a judge, and you get really good comments. People don't react very well to that. I think that for myself, I love doing cosplay. It is one of my favorite and longest hobbies. I am constantly learning. I am constantly finding new ways to do things, but I do not like it when people tell me that I have to do something a certain way. It really, really irks me, especially in a hobby that is so large and creative and always changing. I mean, 3D printing was not a thing not that long ago. People knowing how to cast their own jewels out of resin was not a thing very long ago. Everything is changing in the cosplay world. You have to be up to date all the time. You have to know what's trending. You have to know what's out there to make your costume just that much better. It is really, really difficult to compete. The other thing is that you are going to be walking in front of a crowd, and sometimes at these conventions, it can be over 1,000 people. It is big. The lights are bright. That takes a lot of courage for someone to do. Being compared to other contestants live on a stage can also be extremely nerve-wracking for other people. I think it would be fun to walk a stage. I think it'd be fun to show off a costume and have fun and bring my character to life. I like that part of competitions. What I don't like is the fact that I will have to get back out on those stage while they announce winners and things like that. And I'm like, I don't know if I really want that, because do I really want everyone to see me if I get disappointed because I didn't place? Or do I really want everyone to hear comments about my costume that I wish would have been kept more private or something like that? What I do want to say is that if you are out there and you volunteer or work for cosplay competitions in whatever way, do a really good job and make it really good for the contestants, because again, competing is difficult. One of the biggest things that has really kept me from doing cosplay competitions is the fact that it takes so much of your convention weekend time. And I go to conventions, I spend money on a hotel and food and fun and all this stuff while I'm there. I am there for a good time, not a long time. And having to take, hours out of your Friday for prejudging and then half a day out of your Saturday for the actual competition, that just kind of like kills me inside. I think, but I'm spending so much money and I don't even get to go like experience the convention. Oh, and then I can't stay up late on Friday because I need to look really good on Saturday morning, so I can't go out and like have fun and drink and stuff the night before. That's no fun. So it really is a huge commitment for contestants to do competitions. But in the past couple years, I have seen, it really, really bugs me. I need to bring this up. I have seen a lot of competitions where the MC, the person playing the music, all the coordinators make so many freaking mistakes. Guys, like I have seen people get on stage and the wrong music is starting and the contestant is just like looking around really confused, like, oh shoot, was I not supposed to walk out? Like, what's happening? Oh, should I walk anyways? Like, some people are walking anyways, and then they double play the music. Some people like try to run back so they can restart. It is such a huge mess. And I'm talking about like soccer con, guys, like professional competitions that have been going on for many years now. This is not anything new. If you work in a competition, make sure this doesn't happen, because it is so disrespectful to the contestants who have spent a half of a weekend for this event to happen, for you guys to put this on, and have spent their money, their time, have created a costume, and have gotten all that nerve to actually submit it and compete live. Guys, respect the contestants. Whether I think cosplay contests are good, bad, in between, could be changed, whatever, all that doesn't matter. People are still going to compete, and we need to respect people who do want to be a contestant. And by that, I mean organizing, have better communication. The other thing I've also noticed too is that competitions have gotten way more common than they used to be. There have been a couple years where I have heard open competitions being completely filled up online within 15 minutes because you have to like pre-enroll for them. That's insane to me. That is so crazy. So if you are out there and you are competing, or you have opinions about competing, or you've seen things from being an observer in the audience like I have, please let me know. Write some comments. Let me know what you thought about this video, about my opinions. If you guys have the same ones, if you have opposite ones, I'm interested to hear. I'm going to end the video now before I ramble too much. But again, I will be back on here to do more cosplay controversial opinions, so stay tuned. Holidays are coming up. I might have some good stuff stocked away for you guys. Who knows? Okay. Bye, guys. Have a good night. I'll see you later.